Hello. I'm back with another video on some thoughts that I'm having. Uh, I was on Second Life and we were playing some board games and we got in conversation of, we call it, I can't remember what all we were talking about, but I began to talk about how people in the industry, no. It's what it was. We talked about how the people over at the TV show Friends made it hard for the people who did the show in living single. Living single soon had gotten cut from off of TV, off that channel, off that network, and Friends took over. Friends was a knockoff of Living Single. Alright, so anyway, start talking about, folks who, brown folks who had those NDAs, non-disclosure act contracts, and I'm like, yo, but we got money now. They had kept their mouth shut all these years, but it's like, if Tyler Perry came out with a show that was like Living Single, but he, did something like a documentary on all brown folks who had TV shows that were taken off air because of people who are not brown wanted all the ratings and didn't want to give brown folks, the props that we needed and didn't want to keep us hired. You know what I'm saying? It goes in deeper details. But then I was thinking, I'm like, okay, if Tyler Perry did it, I would love if he went into detail of saying, hey, I don't want to make a show that's going to be like Living Single. I want to make a show that is for us and that is from us. Take the same writers who did Living Single, get them some jobs, you know what I'm saying? And if the actors from the show want to get in on it, then, let them have production rights. Let them do cameos throughout the seasons, things like that. Give them a job as well. You can make a story based off of their characters. Cousins of one or a younger brother of another. If the show ended with any of them being couples, then you'd be like, they got married and here's their children and things like that. But it's all about Tyler Perry. If he was to do it, or if anybody was to do it, they'll just tell the whole story of how the original TV series got jacked up or got taken off air because of racial bullshit. At least if that's how you want to look at it. I look at it like that, but other people might have a different view. So anyway, I have been talking for a long time about brown folks creating their own communities and making sure that they follow rules so that way the government cannot list them as like a cult or something negative like that. A community that self-sustains. Alaska years ago, they had a thing where if you went up there and if you bought so much land, then they will be part of a Homestead Act, something like that. Do your research and find out more information on that, so you understand what I'm talking about. So I'm like, out of all the land that is here in America that people buy and don't do anything with, or they're buying, they just have too much, they just need to share type shit. It's like, brown folks, put their own money together, without any loans, just take the time to invest in themselves, invest in each other, and create a community. Buy that land and all the mineral rights, find ways to, self-sustain. Once again, it's like windmills, solar panels. But the thing is, it's like Killer Mike had, um, Killer Mike, Killer Mike's grandparents had told him, or one of his grandparents had told him that they think that segregation messed up a lot of stuff because brown folks were spending money with each other. They were making money with each other or from each other and, spending the money within a community because we had another choice. Well, now that we have so many choices, it's like, man, we've gotten too comfortable with the conveniences. And it's like we want to figure out how we're going to get our children to act right. How are we going to get our loved ones to act right? How are we going to get people to unthink the bullshit? How are we going to live without having the influence from other ethnicities, other people's mistakes, trickling down and having some type of effect on our way of living? I believe it can be done. There's a guy, his name is Reggie Van Lee. He built a 20,000 square foot house. And if you look up, him on the internet, in your browser or here on YouTube, you'll come across some videos. And you might come across some videos, asking why he did it, things like that. But that's one man creating one big house to put, about 4 or 5 of his family members in it. And like I say, you need to check out a video to see how he's able to fit 4 or 5 families of his family into the house, and they all have space without being on top of each other, that type of thing, right? Whenever you type in black created communities, and I hate to use the word black, because there are actually heavily melanated people in this world, but they're not even, I don't think, any person that comes from a PC background would be like, they're Senegalese. They're from Senegal, so they're Senegalese. But, you wouldn't just sit back and be like, oh, that's a black person from Senegal. You just be like, that's a Senegalese. You know what I'm saying? That's a person from Senegal. You don't have to throw, that's a black person. That type of thing. So here in America, we're American first because we were born here. So why add a color? We're much more than color. There's so many descriptive words that describes a person individually that is different from other people. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy. Anyway, I use this term for the search words, black creative communities in America, and it doesn't show anything about created communities. They talk about communities that existed and brown folks went to them and thrived, but not just created. And it's like, really? And here I am on Bing, and I'm like, are you serious? Can't find it on Bing, huh? So I'm like, all right, let's go to YouTube, and let's enter it into YouTube, and let's see what we get in the search. It might be surprising or it might not be. And it says celebrate, Brown History Month. And I hate that they only give us 1 month when we help build this country every day, every month. It's crazy. But ranked the top 5 blackest cities or brownest cities in the US. The U.S. towns created a safe space for brown Americans. These towns were created as a safe space. So it doesn't show, or it doesn't say that we created how the U.S. government destroyed brown families. Top 10 small towns for brown Americans to move to. Like I said, it's not showing that we created these towns. And to me, it's like, all right, we have the money, and we are able and we are capable of making money. So, what's the problem? You got a lot of talkers, but who are the doers? I don't have enough money to help somebody create a community. I have the mouth to talk about it and to, like promote it as much as I can. You know what I'm saying? But I don't have the finances. Be like a solid partner. Well, not even a solid partner if I'm trying to promote it through my videos. But still, it's like, for the folks who have the money, they can do this. And if they can't, I want to know why. I want to know why people aren't posting videos saying why they were stopped, why their efforts were stopped. You know what I'm saying? It's like you hear stories of the KKK, shutting up people by, fear tactics. You know what I mean? And people wanted to live. They didn't want to die the very next day or die in their sleep. You know what I'm saying? So they faked the funk until, Jim Crow and segregation and all that stuff was done with. But still, we deal with the backlash of all that now. But here it is, as far as this topic goes, you got these communities that had once been formed and created by brown folks. You think about Rosewood, you think about, Black Wall Street, and you think about a whole bunch of other places. But it's like, we take whatever we can learn from what happened then and try to do something with it now. And I'm like, man, it can be done. I think this window is going to have some of the same stuff. Here it is. The first brown-owned micro community. Brown American city being developed in Ghana. You see a micro community? Look at the size of those houses. Those are micro houses. You know what I'm saying? They're small houses that's functional. You know what I mean? It's kind of like living in an RV. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. How many families are supposed to? When I look at that, it just reminds me of those shacks that folks lived in. Sharecroppers, things like that. It's like one door. You know what I'm saying? Only a few windows, and when you get in there, it's like basically an open floor plan. Only way that you can cut off sections is by hanging up sheets and towels to give you privacy in those different areas of that room, of that open floor plan. You know what I'm saying? I'm shaking my head because as I'm looking through this, I'm like, they're talking about in Ghana. Well, what about here? Or if they're going to talk about Africa, what happened to Liberia? Liberia was supposed to be a place for people to go to. They talk about Idlewild being a brown Eden, town that segregation built. So it's like, what really happened? You know what I'm saying? What's really going on? They're talking about the richest brown community in Charles County, Maryland. But is it from us? You know what I mean? Killer Mike did a Netflix special where he tried to survive maybe a week using only brown-owned products, brown-created products. So his food was limited because whatever restaurant he went to, you had to ask the question of where they got their produce. Was it from, a brown farm, a brown owned farm? And with that brown owned farm, did they get their money to create their farm by people who are not brown? You know what I'm saying? He had to do his background checks. So that way he made sure that could nobody call him out and be like, well, they aren't technically brown owned. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with the butcher. It's like, okay, it's a brown owned farm. You know what I'm saying? With a brown owned slaughterhouse. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, man, back in the day when we were segregated, we had all that. We had brown blacksmiths. We had brown masonry workers. We had brown folks who did furniture, carpentry. We had brown mechanics. You know what I'm saying? All these skills that we need to sustain with, we are capable of doing it for ourselves. So I'm scrolling down and I'm like, I still don't see anything that points to something that we created. And I don't see anything that says, the plan didn't work because of this or that. There was that one video of how did something get messed up, or how did something blow up, grow to be more than what it was. I don't see it. So anyway, with this video, I hope that I can help some of you, have a curiosity to the topic of brown created communities. I'm not saying that we have to be racist about it. I'm not saying that we got to be pro-brown about it, because best believe there's a lot of people who are not completely brown when after you look at them. You know what I'm saying? And they're not mulatto. Not mulatto, but albino. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to be albino to consider them, brown. It's kind of like giving somebody a brown pass, and we make up the rules as we go to distinguish whether a person is brown or not. And it's not like that. Back in the day, there was like, the one drop of blood type of law, to where if you had a drop of brown blood in your DNA, then you're a brown person, period. But it's like so many things have changed, so we can't sit back and just look at people and say you're not with us because you look like this, and it's not cool. You have folks who never dealt with racism, so the whole colorism thing don't exist to them. They're just ignorant to that way of thinking. And if you put them on a lie detector test, they'll pass it every single time. They never ever thought of using the N-word. You know what I'm saying? Probably never ever heard of the N-word except for on TV or something like that. But in their own personal lives growing up, their parents didn't have them in that type of shit. So there's generations of people who didn't get into this whole racial thing, this racial war. But I know I talked a lot. I'm gonna get off of here. My disclaimer goes like this: I'm not the smartest person, nor am I the dumbest person. I've done my research on some things, and there's a lot more things that I want to do some research on, but I don't trust the sources that I will get the research from, because there's a lot of people out there that don't want us to learn anything, so they're going to tamper with all the tools, the books, other people's videos, other people's studies, other people's research, other people who put the effort into trying to help us, grow, try to help us, get smarter, try to help us get wise to what's going on out there, dealing with all these other adversaries. So that's why it's hard for me to research stuff, because I don't trust the information that I'm be getting that research from. Okay, so anyway, with my disclaimer, it goes like this, like a part B. It's like what I'm asking you to do is to question everything that I'm talking about. Do your own research on the things that I'm talking about. Form your own opinions about the things that I'm talking about. And part C is take all your opinions and your research and share it with people, anybody, no matter what the race is. Because you never know when someone's out there feeling like they're alone in a crowded room. I know what that feeling is like. You might know what that feeling is like. And it's like, man, are we thinking this alone? Is anybody else thinking this? You know what I'm saying? So share your opinion and your research with other people. It's all about growth. Each one teach one. We got to continue to be self-aware of who we are individually. We got to continue to grow. We got to unthink the bullshit. Unthink and stop practicing these old ass traditions. That's just death. You know what I'm saying? Consumers are just dead. People dealing with these traditions and holidays. Those traditions and holidays is nothing but death. We can live without it. We can be happy without all that shit. We need new traditions of our own. Actually, we don't even need to call it traditions. It's just a way of life type shit. We got to unthink the way we talk. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm tired of hearing the N word. I'm tired hearing, the B word as far as black goes. We're way more than all that. We're not ignorant people. We're not porch monkeys. You know what I'm saying? Out of everything that is out there that is trying to tell us that there's a whole new way of thinking about certain topics, we watch it in form of entertainment. It could be in the movies, it could be in music, and we'll watch it and be like, we ain't trying to learn nothing, but it's an entertaining movie. I like the graphics. I like the story. You know what I'm saying? And it's a fake movie, so all it can be is entertainment. And it's a moment for you to sit back and learn something vicariously through a hidden message. You know what I'm saying? It's like, who are these people trying to target? We got all these movies that have been coming out over the summer of 2025. And graphics are supposed to be good. They're supposed to have good stories to the movies. It's supposed to have good soundtracks. It's supposed to be some good entertainment. But it's like, really? Is it? Is it really? If we show our kids, do we need to cover our kids' ears and their eyes so that way they might miss a part here and there? And it's like, it's all bullshit because, even the kid shit that's on TV or the internet is really tailored to, kill the cells in our kids' brain. You know what I'm saying? They're not growing from it, they're dying. They can't use that information to help them be who they can be in life. It's like school. They sit up here tripping about putting corporal punishment or religion in school, or politics in school, or whether it's good or bad to do a pledge of allegiance, things like that. And it's like, I dropped out of school. I got expelled because I didn't even want to be there no more, and I stopped putting in the effort of trying to be there. I got expelled, but I knew that those courses, the courses that I was taking, they had nothing to do with what I wanted to be in life. I wanted to be a family man, and I wanted to be a cook. And high school and elementary, and shit was not pushing me towards those type of lifestyles. You know what I'm saying? Healthful living was good for that. You know what I'm saying? You learn how to sew, do things, in your home to keep it maintained. You know what I'm saying? Cooking and all that kind of good shit. And, how to stay clean, how to keep your home clean, hygiene wise. And, when it comes down to relationships and stuff, they'll have you celebrate Valentine's Day, but they won't teach you the tools of how to respect yourself and make people respect you as well. No matter how weak you might be over the flesh. You know what I'm saying? It's still something that they could have taught us instead of wasting our times. Wasting our time. You know, it's like, what, 12 years of your life that could have been doing something completely different. Now look at you as an adult, and when you think about 12 years, most of us can't even be in a relationship for 12 years. Most of us can't hold one single job for 12 years. Can't hold two jobs for 12 years. We can't be loving family members for 12 years. You know what I'm saying? We can't love people unconditionally for 12 years. We can't respect respect people. We can't respect ourselves. So, 12 years is wasted, no matter what. Anyway, once again, I've gotten long-winded, sorry. It's just a passionate topic. And, I'm just hoping that you pick it apart, form your own opinion, do some research, and share your thoughts and concerns with other people. Hope you find a passionate reason to run your mouth, make some long, drawn-out videos, or a book. You know what I'm saying? But this is Podrey, and leave me a comment about your thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Let me know if you want to shout out. Let me know if you talk about this type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? I like to hear from y'all to find out, who else is thinking on the same level that I'm thinking on. I'm not the only person. You know what I'm saying? This is just common sense type shit. You know what I mean? It's not really studied on, because there's not enough information to study. Nobody's talking about why these ideas don't work. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to put the government on blast. Folks don't want to get blackballed. They don't want, somebody to put them on a list where they can't achieve things in life. You know what I'm saying? There's a fear factor involved with running your mouth too much about topics that people with power don't want us to talk about. They'll try to defeat us with our own families. You know what I'm saying? So, it's a cutthroat world. Anyway, you have a good night, you have a good morning, you have a good evening. Peace.